Harvard is off to their best start in over a decade, and they've done it in thrilling fashion. 3 straight overtime wins to begin the season. But a 4-0 start won't be easy. The Duke Blue Devils are always in the conversation for a national title, and this year is no different. Led by one of the game's best players in Miles Jones, Duke comes into today with the country's second highest scoring offense. It's a top 15 clash as the Blue Devils and Crimson battle in Hempstead, and it's next on Lacrosse Sports Network. It's always a good day for a top 15 lacrosse matchup. That's what we have from Seward Stadium. Lacrosse Sports Network presents the College Lacrosse Game of the Week, live from Seward Stadium in Hempstead, New York. It's the second game of our doubleheader, featuring the number 4 team in the nation, the Duke Blue Devils, taking on undefeated and 12th ranked Harvard. Well, hello again, everyone. Matt Shortis along with former Syracuse defenseman Steve Panarelli. Great to have you with us. Great matchup today. The Harvard Crimson starting off the season 3-0, 3 overtime victories, a 4-1 start for the Duke Blue Devils. But Steve, for both of these teams, an opportunity for that first real signature win of 2016.
Yeah, I think both teams in all their wins, going into those wins, they were probably the favorite and expected to win those games. So they get a real test in each other today. We'll see who can get their first signature win in the season.
Duke, such a potent offense. A lot of it starts in the midfield. They have a tremendous first-line midfield, and Miles Jones, the number 1 overall pick in the MLL draft a couple of weeks ago, he's the thing that starts them off.
Yeah, Miles will be the most physically dominant player on the field today, the most athletic, fastest player on the field today. What I like about him, though, is defenses are designed to stop him, and he's done a really nice job of letting the game come to him and getting his teammates involved.
For Harvard, their offensive attack is generated from the net behind. The ex-attacker, Devin Dwyer, he's been the catalyst for them so far this year, and he's been both a distributor and a goal scorer.
Yeah, he comes in hot. His last 2 games, he's got 7 points in both of them, scored the overtime winner last week. He's a really skilled and talented player. He's one of those guys where you watch and you don't realize that he's filling up the stat line at the same time. He's their quarterback. He gets them set on offense. So
Harvard trying to make it a 4-0 start for the first time since 2002. Duke looking for their 5th win in a season. It's the Crimson and Blue Devils coming up next from Hofstra University on the Lacrosse Sports Network. Welcome back to Hofstra University as Harvard and Duke getting ready to square off. Matt Shortis, Steve Panarelli will head down to Courtney Cox prior to the start of this one.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, top 20 matchup today with number 12 Harvard against number 3 Duke. Big stories here today. First off, the Cardiac Crimson. Harvard is 3-0, 3 overtime wins. That's ridiculous. And on the other side, Duke is 4-1, led by the MLL first round pick, Miles Jones. If Harvard wants to get this upset, they are going to have to stop not only him, but also stop Deemer Class, who's 1 goal away from a career 100 goals, along with Justin Gutterding and Case Mathias, who both have 22 points on the season. So, top 20 matchup. I'm excited. Let's get this thing started.
All right, Courtney. You mentioned the ability of the midfield and just the amount of firepower up and down this Duke lineup is staggering, Steve.
Yeah, one of the most dynamic offenses in the country. You know, you look at their goal total so far early in the season, double digits everywhere. And again, it starts with the guy, Miles. I mean, he sets the tone for them, and defenses are designed to stop him and try to limit his ability, his possession.
So, battle on the face-off X, and finally won by Duke as Greg Pelton comes up with the ground ball. Danny Fowler between the pipes today for Duke. And it looks like the Blue Devils will go on their first offensive series. Here comes Miles Jones in that first midfield line for Duke. The attack, an all New York Tri-State attack. Jack Bruckner, Case Mathias, and Justin Gutterding. I'll take a look at the keys to victory for both teams today.
For Duke, it's play fast, and not only between the lines, but also offensively.
And there you go, right on cue. Turnaround shot by Cohan. And he finds a soft spot in the zone, and Duke is on the board, not a minute in.
And as I was saying, play fast, not only between the lines, because they like to push and transition, Duke, but offensively, you've got to draw this slide and move it. Harvard is going to come early. They're going to slide aggressively, especially to the midfielders. So if Duke's going to have success offensively, they're going to have to move it just like they did there.
Well, Justin Gutterding is on pace to best Matt Danowski's career record in terms of quickest to 100 career points. Took Matt Danowski 27 games to get to 100 career points, and Gutterding is on pace to surpass that. Got an assist on that goal to Cohan.
And the key for Harvard here is control the pace of play. Okay, they've got to be solid offensively, limit their turnovers, make this Duke defense work, and the face-off game. They've got to win some face-off just like they did there. They got to go at least 50-50 today if they're going to have a chance against Duke.
There's McDonough into the box. And Harvard, during this streak of these 3 overtime victories, first time in program history that they've played 3 straight overtime games, they've been all over the map. You know, at points in the second game of the regular season against Holy Cross, they were down 6-0. They've had leads, so they've been all over the map, but the bottom line for them is that they've found ways to win.
And that's all that counts. You got to get those marks in the win column, which they've done. This is going to be their first. I think this is going to be the toughest test that they're going to face so far in this season. No disrespect to their other opponents. Duke is just at a little bit of a different level than what they've seen so far.
Morgan Cheek, the sophomore, got his first career point last year against Duke. Unwinds one from a left-handed shot, just goes wide, whistles past Fowler. And Devin Dwyer will bring it back in. Dwyer has been playing at a very high level, 19 points through 3 games. Up top, pass collected by Ian Artie. And this really, more what Harvard's looking to do. You get a nice contrast of style offensively between these two teams.
Yeah, they're going to want to be patient.
Here's a shot, whistles just high.
They're going to want to be patient offensively, look for really good opportunities. Don't settle for bad shots. And again, make this Duke defense work.
Dwyer's pass dropped by Artie, picked up by Duke.
Ground ball picked up by number 44, Ethan Powley.
Powley able to get it to Fowler. Duke will look to move in transition. Well, defensively, if you look at this Harvard team, a lot of seniors on the long poles. You get Kirby, a senior, Jahelka, of course, preseason All-American. So those might be some guys that are up to the task. And Miles Jones getting some oohs and ahs from the crowd on that ankle breaker.
Oh, we talked about him in the open. I said he would be the most physically dominant player on the field, and he shows you right there why he is.
But with all that excitement, Duke turns the ball over, unable to get it into the box in enough time. Pass knocked it away, out of bounds. And Harvard will get it back. I mean, we might see on this field today with the way that Byrne put in that goal, and then Miles Jones, two of the more electrifying offensive players in the game of lacrosse today.
Oh yeah, at any moment, those guys, you know, Byrne, who we saw in the first game, and Miles here, at any moment they can just actually absolutely make a jaw-dropping type play.
And then you get, for Harvard, Devin Dwyer, who's a textbook attackman, a textbook X-attacker. If you could draw up your X-attacker, it would be Devin Dwyer.
Well, yeah, he's one of those guys, you know, you look at him, you watch a game, and he might not blow you away with his speed or his quickness, but all of a sudden at the end of the game, you know, he's 4-3, he's 5-2, and you go, oh my God, this guy's really good, you know. So he fills up the stat sheet. He's not going to be physical or athletic as a guy like Miles, but he fills it up.
Picked off the turf by Lang, low shot. Fowler got a piece of this. Rebound by Harvard. Thought I heard a whistle, but everybody flying down. Harvard will get it. Dwyer's pass knocked down, and Lang able to pick it up. So Harvard will go back on the attack. They've really had a bulk of the possession early on, but still trail the Blue Devils 1-0. Duke coming in at 4-1 on the season. Lone loss to the defending national champions, Denver. And of course, Harvard, we talked about their 3-0 start. All 3 of those wins coming in overtime. Here's Lang, cross field, top right post, top right point it comes. Shovel pass to Dwyer. And Harvard not able to get a whole lot in terms of scoring opportunities right now. Up top they come, Mann lines it up. He thought about it, but the defense closed out on him so far. Morgan Cheek, the sophomore, around a screen from Dwyer. Cheek, goal line extended, not much of an angle, feeds quickly. Dwyer able to put it in on the short side and tie it up at 1.
The Harvard goal scored by number 3, Devin Dwyer. The assist
And that's just a good look right there by Cheek. As you take a look here, they're playing in that two-man game. Does a nice job on an inside roll there, takes a step back and realizes that Dwyer is wide open on the backside. That's an easy catch and finish. Ethan Powley just lost Dwyer at X there, didn't even realize that he went behind him and got himself to goal line extended. But again, a nice look by Cheek.
I think that replay, that was the best thing you saw on that, is Powley and him losing Dwyer. Dwyer just sneaking away, and by the time Powley realized that Dwyer was already goal line extended.
Oh yeah, it was definitely way too late, and that's an easy finish for a guy like Dwyer, as we were just talking about him.
Face-off win for Duke. First midfield line comes back on Cohan, Miles, and Deemer Class. You heard Courtney Cox say that Deemer Class 1 goal shy of 100 career goals. He'd be the second midfielder in Duke history to have 100 career goals. Well, the first, his teammate Miles Jones. And that'll be Harvard ball. Second Duke turnover in 3 possessions. Talking to Coach John Danowski this week, there were definitely some things for Duke that he felt needed to be cleaned up. He didn't feel like they've been playing at their best. One of the things he talked about was the man-down defense and how many penalties they've been taking of late. And of course, taking care of the ball. Here's Lang inside, trying to look across, gets all the way through. Morgan Cheek lost a handle on this. And Ian Artie picks up the ground ball. Artie 4 goals and an assist on the season. At Greenwich, Connecticut. Here's Morgan Cheek, sent up the first Harvard goal. Back check, lost the ball. Nice defensive play by Duke. Moving in transition, they try and find Prendergast. Prendergast lost the ball, picked up by Harvard. Here they come, Joe Lang in transition, come the Crimson. Duke able to get back pretty quickly. Dwyer right in front on the long pull. Fowler, shot fake, in. Morgan Cheek off the turnover. And things got a little shaky for Harvard down low, but eventually they find Cheek on the near side who puts it in.
And it just starts with sloppy play in the midfield. You never want to turn it over in the middle of the field because things like this happen. And right here, Cheek does a good job coming around topside, increasing his angle, throws a little fake on the goalie, fakes high, shoots low. But again, it starts with that turnover in the middle of the field. That's the worst place that you could turn over.
Timeout on the field, 8:05 to play in the first quarter. Duke trailing Harvard by a score of 2-1. Stick with us, it's our college game of the week. Harvard and Duke here on Lac Sports Network. Two to 1, Harvard leading Duke. Here early in the first quarter, a look at the Cardiac Crimson, 3 games into this season. Overtime has been the story so far, Steve.
Well, you know they can win close games, that's for sure. I mean, obviously, 3 overtime games, 1 going to double overtime. You know, talking to the Duke staff, you know, they're playing 3 games in 7 days, but you look at Harvard, you know, they've played now 3 games of overtime, so they're playing, you know, extra lacrosse as well. So both these teams are going to have to get geared up mentally and be ready to play here today after some exhausting games over the last few weeks.
Chris Wojcik saying, I've never experienced anything like this, obviously unprecedented in the Harvard program. Earlier in the week, he wasn't even sure if it had been done in the history of lacrosse, but they're the second team to win 3 straight overtime games. And it's been an incredible learning process for them. He attributed their seniors and their leadership, their ability to never give up and never get down.
Yeah, close games are usually won by seniors, usually won by leaders, and it's a good, it's a good check as a coach that you realize you got guys that can go into those battles and win those tight games.
Well, a flag on Harvard. So Duke penalty coming up. Duke power play coming up on an extra man chance.
Penalty against Harvard, number 5, Walter Kirby. That is a push. That is a 30-second.
It's a 30-second variety penalty.
7 minutes and 11 seconds.
So Duke trailing by 1. A good chance for the Blue Devils after really not having much of the possession so far in this game. So, you know, we look back at those keys real quickly. That's really playing to Harvard's strengths right now.
Duke likes operating out of a 3-3 in their man up.
Turnaround shot, sneaks past the inside part of the post. Deemer Class, goal 100 on his career.
Scored by number 10, Deemer Class. The assist by number 33.
And as I was saying, Duke likes to run out of that 3-3. In order for the 3-3 to be effective, guys have to step into shooting lanes, make guys play them just like they do right here. And bang, here comes Deemer Class. He rolls up and sticks it in the corner. But again, it starts with guys being a threat with the ball in their stick, making defensemen come out and play them, and then moving it, and usually get that guy that kind of curls up and gets into that shooting spot.
Well, Justin Gutterding came in 8 points shy of 100 career points. Just a few games into his sophomore year, and he's got 2 assists today, so move him to 96 career points. And more importantly for Duke, it ties things up at 2.
Ground ball picked up by John.
Harvard went with 2 poles in that face-off. So look, something to watch in the face-off game.
High pass, looked like the stick was knocked down, and it'll be Harvard ball.
Harvard ball.
James Ikeda trying to pass it at X, and a Duke turnover. So Harvard will get it back, tied at 2, as we are just past the midway portion of the first quarter. Crowd still filing in, good crowd. One of the reasons they had this game here in Hofstra. Low shot, gets by Fowler, as Brendan Newman, the senior, just kept dodging in. Nobody slid over to him, so he said, hey, why not? I'll take the shot, and finds the goal for himself.
And that's just a tough possession by Ikeda. He starts it with a turnover, and then here he's unfortunate. He just trips over. And right there, Newman, like you said, nobody comes to him, nobody slides to him, and the first thing you're taught when you have the ball in your stick is you go to the goal. You're always the first option to shoot, and Newman does a good job right there, recognizing no slide was coming, and just finishes it 5-hole.
Just 1 goal all of last season, and has a goal in this game against the 4th-ranked Blue Devils. And back on the face-offs, we'll have a whistle against Duke. That one hung in the back of the pocket a little too long. The points of emphasis of late. Harvard back at it. 3-2 lead. There's Jamie White. And they'll work around Joe Lang with it. Lang back check. Nicely done by Chris Cody.
The ground ball for Duke.
So Georgetown do that very effectively in the first game we had here today against Hofstra. Those long poles were causing turnovers. And, easy to say that's part of their job, but it's not always the easiest thing to do.
No.
Miles Jones.
Well, absolutely. With some of the stick technology nowadays, and speaking from a defensive perspective, it's over the years it's become much harder to get balls on the ground. I mean, I remember throwing checks and knocking sticks out of guys' hands, and it still stays in. They pick up the stick and keep running with it. So it's definitely much more difficult than it was for the guys back in the day to put the ball on the ground.
Jones coming near side for Cohan. There's Gutterding. Back comes for Cohan, dodged from the right side. Chad Cohan started 10 of 15 games last year. Split time between the attack and the midfield. Gutterding behind the cage at X now. Right side, Class. Back it comes for Gutterding. Look right on the crease, shot fake, going low, then shooting high. Bruckner finishes.
The Duke goal is scored by number 8, Jack Bruckner.
And again, we talked about it. If Duke's going to have success offensively in the 6-on-6, they've got to draw the slide and move it right away. And you see they got 3 guys coming to the ball, and Bruckner does a good job of just finding that little crease, cutting inside there, and finishing it with a nice fake. But again, for Duke, the key offensively today is draw that slide, that quick early slide that Harvard likes to bring, and then you've got to move the ball faster than they can recover.
Both teams have executed pretty well in the 6-on-6 offense, tied at 3 with under 5 minutes to play in the opening quarter. A face-off win by Harvard, but then Duvniak stepped out of bounds, and Duke will get it back. Go down to Courtney Quick on the sideline.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy down here. The fans are filing in. It feels like a Duke home game, which is weird because Duke is in North Carolina. But looking at their roster, 19 players on their roster currently are from either New York, New Jersey, or Connecticut. We have alumni here. As soon as they score, everybody goes crazy. The stands behind me are all decked out in Blue Devil blue. So definitely feeling the energy on this side.
I mean, you look at the 3 starting attackmen. They've all played, 2 of the 3 have played high school games, high school championship games in this building, in Bruckner and Gutterding, as well as the #1 overall pick in the MLL draft, Miles Jones, local to here. I mean, but Harvard has a fair share of Long Island guys as well. That was, in fact, one of the reasons they wanted to play this game here. As that's out of bounds, Duke will get it back. And whistle coming from the sideline here.
And that's a play by Miles Jones right there. Saying Harvard got a timeout, but right there he shows you the hustle on the end line and caused what would have been a turnover.
More when we come back. Timeout on the field. Knotted up at 3, late stages of the first quarter. Stick with us here on the College Game of the Week on Lax Sports Network. Back at Hofstra University, we talked about all the players that are local to the New York tri-state area. How about a homecoming of sorts for Duke head coach John Danowski, where he spent 21 seasons here as a Hofstra head coach. Grew up on Long Island, a Farmingdale native just like yourself, and led this team in his last couple seasons, a #2 overall number for Hofstra, NCAA quarterfinals, before going down to Duke to team up with his son Matt.
Yeah, he's a Long Island guy through and through. I see him just as much as I used to see him when he lived on Long Island because he's up here so much, especially in the summertime recruiting and trying to get those Long Island guys down to Durham. So he's a Long Island guy, and I'm sure he's glad to be home and playing in some familiar grounds here at Hofstra.
Lots of handshakes and hugs from familiar faces here on the Hofstra campus. Low shot, that one blocked away by Shaw, the sophomore. And Matthias got a piece of that. That pass knocked down by Harvard, but able to get it back, and now out of bounds it'll go. It'll be Harvard ball.
And that was a really nice save by Shaw because Matthias did a good job of throwing his stick fake. He had him beat, but Shaw does a nice job of recovering and just getting enough of that.
Well, we've seen Harvard do quite effectively today. As they are almost never shooting on that first motion. They are shooting on the second or third after a couple fakes. Inside 3 minutes remaining in the first quarter, tie game. Good one between 2 top 15 teams. Duke at 4, Harvard at 12. Morgan Sheik getting around his defender. It's Greg Pelton, the sophomore, right on him. Back up top, it comes from McDonough. Cross court, Cheek stepping in one. Fowler had it the whole time.
Good job by Fowler, staying tall, being in good position, and stopping that shot. But again, just standing tall, tracking it the whole way, and just being in a really good position as that ball came from side to side with that skip pass.
Van de Ven stepping in to the offensive area. Now it's Case Matthias. Started 12 games last year on the attack, playing in 15. 20 goals and 19 assists last year, already with 13-9 this season through 5 games. The side it comes for Dave Gill, sophomore, was an All-American as a senior. You can say that for a whole bunch of the guys on both these rosters, high school-wise. Drop pass by Gill, heading towards the sideline. Gill able to recover. Minute and a half to go in the opening quarter, tied at 3, Harvard and Duke. Stands filling in nicely. We had some snow here on Long Island yesterday. So it was about an inch, maybe an inch and a half or so, but weather has warmed up at least a little bit from yesterday, so fans have come out.
It's warm for us, that's for sure.
Warm up here in the press box for sure. Duke, some good ball movement here right on the crease. Harvard collapsing quickly on the slides. Right side they come. Low shot pulled just wide by Gutterding. Out of bounds, and it was Robert Shaw who was closest to it out of his crease. Got the foot speed for the sophomore keeper.
Yeah, did a nice job of getting out of the goal right away, recognizing that shot was wide, and gains possession for his team. Those little plays, especially in a close game, they really add up as the course of the game, as it goes on.
Shaw playing in just one game last year, but he's been between the pipes for all 3 of their victories this season. Harvard a chance to take the lead. Final 30 seconds of the opening quarter. Low pass, little trouble handling this one. They were able to recover as Mann picks it up. Right side, Mann stepping into it. Fowler. Two high school teammates, Carney Mann and Danny Fowler, both out of Chaminade. 10 seconds to go. Here's Dwyer. Dwyer trying to muscle his way in. 5 to shoot. Dwyer changes hands, looks inside, ball to the carpet, and the first quarter will come to a close.
That is the end of the first quarter with this
Balanced first quarter, both teams, you would say, executing how they want to execute.
Yeah, both teams played pretty well. It was a little sloppy early on the first quarter there, but both teams have settled down and playing much better now.
So top 15 matchup, Duke and Harvard tied at 3. We'll be back in a moment. Hofstra University, how about that from Miles Jones taking us to break. The defending Division I national champion Denver Pioneers are heading to Texas, and we'll have the action for you right here on Lac Sports Network. Coach Bill Tierney is bringing his team to Dallas on March 26th to take on Penn State out of the Big Ten. You can see the game live right here on LSN at 1 Eastern, Saturday, March 26th. The College Lacrosse Game of the Week on Lac Sports Network. It's all Laccess. Duke and Harvard tied at 3 as we begin the second quarter. Matt Shortis, Steve Panarelli with you. Courtney Cox as well. High shot, rings off the crossbar. Long carom out to the far sideline, and that will be Duke ball. Thought Harvard might have had claim to that as Walker Kirby was close to it. Shot blocked in front. Kirby coming back to the other side, laying at his body and putting his body in front of that shot.
That was a good play because Duke beat the whistle. Case Mathias had a good opportunity there, but Harvard shut the door.
You don't see that too much in lacrosse as much. It's like a hockey play, a defenseman just going down to the ice.
I can tell you, I wasn't making too many of those plays.
Coming from the left side, Fowler able to get a piece of this one off the stick of Lang. Duke transitioning the other way.
And something we haven't talked about, and talking to the Duke staff, Harvard, they play a lot of two-way middies. So they'll go from defense to offense, and they'll try to have you keep your offensive middies on. So that's something to watch for as this game goes on. Can Duke do a good job of trapping some of Duke's offensive-minded midfielders on and get some matchups there, and vice versa? Going back from offense to defense, can Duke keep some of those guys on that now have played offense, defense, back to offense, and keep those guys trapped and wear them down?
Duke looking down low. Part of it is style, is philosophy, but also when you look at the sideline, Duke numbers-wise is a much smaller roster than what, Harvard numbers-wise much smaller roster than what Duke has brought here today. Here's Class looking across, little scoop shot put in by Gutterding, and those two hooking up for the second time today. This time it's Class assisting on the Gutterding goal.
And Gutterding does a nice job of handling this pass from Class because it's a low pass, but he puts it in a spot where his guy can get it, right between those defensemen, protects his stick, and Gutterding does a nice job of finishing that. But again, it really starts with him handling that tough pass on the inside.
Well, Duke leading for the first time since it was 1-0. First goal of the game scored by Champ Cohan. Face-off win for Duke.
Peter Welch with the ground ball for Duke.
That was a good ground ball right there by Welch. Little plays like that sometimes go unnoticed, but he just picked that thing right off and was able to gain possession for Duke. That was a nice play.
There's Jones, who bulldozed a Harvard midfielder earlier in this game. Brad Smith holding Duke, settling in a little bit here offensively. Case Matthias around the corner. Matthias, his shot blocked by Shaw, didn't know where it was, and eventually he gains the possession.
That was a good dodge right there by Matthias. He got his guy turned up at X, a good change of direction. Needed to take one or two more steps. Harvard was able to slide and slow down his momentum, but really nice dodge right there.
And Shaw's just getting better as this season goes on. Had to make 19 saves in his first career start against Villanova. Not all of them on net, but he faced over 50 shots against the Wildcats and has that. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, that's a lot of rubber for a first game.
Duke back on the attack. Good backup by McDonough. He and Joe Lang on the near side of the field. Lang. Defense slides over to him, triple team, back check by Aikita. And trouble on the ground ball, Lang towing the midline. Good agility as he moves back into the offensive zone.
Right here, Harvard has the numbers. Again, they have those two-way middies, catch Duke transitioning.
Here's Artie down low, nice catch and finish by Cheek.
Harvard goal scored by number 13, Morgan Cheek. The assist by
And again, Harvard catches them, playing a little cat and mouse right there in the substitution game. And they do a nice job of recognizing they have numbers. And Cheek's going to be the beneficiary here, catching that on the crease. Nice play by Harvard right there. Again, catching them off. Ian Ardrey coming out of the box. Nice play right there by Harvard.
Morgan Cheek coming off one of his best games in a Harvard uniform. 6 points in an overtime win over UMass. 1 goal, 5 assists. He's got 3 more already here in the first half.
And that's one of those things, you know, it's always so frustrating, especially for a coach. If you're not going to be able to beat your guy to the box or to the midfield line to substitute off of him, you've just got to stay on, because it's better to have your offensive midi who's maybe not used to playing defense. It's better to stay 6-on-6 than to give up a 6-on-5. And so many times these guys, instead of just bailing on it and staying in and playing defense, they try to get off and they're behind and they create these odd man situations just like we just had there.
Up top, 2 goals. They unwind, and Gutterding in his Long Island homecoming, 5 points. These guys are just lighting it up as Duke goes back out top, 5-4.
And Duke responds right here. Again, good offense, moving the ball, keeping the ball hot, and Gutterding just catches that. Harvard's defense is really slumped down in, helping out on the crease, and Gutterding gets that pass over the top and finishes with a nice overhand shot.
I had a question for you to get back to a point a moment ago, but Duke it looked like something was going to happen. So how much of it also is the specialization, to go back to the last Harvard goal? Because even through high school now, so many of these guys come up as specialized short stick defensive midfielders,
Yep.
very few two-way guys. So it's almost like that's a rarity playing against that.
Yeah, it is, and you know, the sport has become so specialized. When this, you know, 30 years ago, I mean, midfielders played. We might have a goal here.
Here's Dwyer down low. Second goal of the game for Dwyer, and the scoring onslaught continues for both teams. 10 combined goals. We're tied at 5.
We'll get back to that point here, but these guys just keep scoring and lighting it up. Right here, off of the ground ball, off the loose ball situation. Good job right here by Dwyer, just hanging out around the crease. Catching and finishing, but again, good job by Harvard off the ground. You want to move it right away and keep the ball hot, because that's when the defense is out of position, just like Duke was there, and Dwyer is able to capitalize and tie this thing up at 5. But getting back to your point of the specialization, you know, 30 years ago, midfielders played true midfield. They played up and down, offense, defense, and as this game, has evolved and grown, everybody specialized, to the face-off guys, to the midfielders. But regardless, having an offensive midi, someone who's not used to playing defense, again, is better to stay on the field and keep it as a even situation, 6-on-6, than to create situations like a 6-on-5 or a 5-on-4. Stay on. We'll slide to you. We'll get you help, and we'll try to get you off the field. But you got to stay on and play 6-on-6.
We are back to 6-on-6 right now. Harvard with the possession. They just tied it up at 5 on the goal from Dwyer. And first quarter, you would say pace, tempo, definitely Harvard's way. As this second quarter is picked up, that's more the way Duke likes to play.
Yeah, Duke likes to play fast. They like to get up and down, create odd man situations. That's going to be a key for Harvard in the substitution game, going from offense to defense, getting in the hole, and limiting some of Duke's transition.
Crank shot from Cheek. Went wide. And here's Lang trying to put one on, and that one goes wide. Still Hofstra ball. The Harvard ball, pardon me. I'm saying Hofstra for a couple hours in a row.
Oh, plus it says it all over the field, so.
Saw a moment ago as well. You saw David Gilt sprinting off the field. You wonder if Coach Janowski had a word for his midfielders that are coming off.
And with that situation, too, you got to make a decision right away. You're either getting off or you're not. And so many times, guys get caught in between. Make a decision and go with it.
Lang, good individual effort defense from Powley. McDonough holding on the right side. Morgan Cheek already with 2 goals and an assist in this afternoon's contest. Not a lot of room to operate. Cheek right on the doorstep. Dwyer loads and fires. Back-to-back goals for Devin Dwyer. He's got a hat trick here in the first half.
By number 3, Devin Dwyer.
And again, Dwyer just shows you why he fills up the stat sheet. He does it in so many ways. And right here, just a nice little cut on the inside, finding that crease, and a nice handle in a tight situation and able to finish it. But again, he's not one of those guys you're going to watch and go, oh my God, this guy's unbelievable. He's running by people, or he's just, beating people with his quickness. But yet, at the end of the game, his stat sheet is always filled up, and he always finds a way to produce.
We've seen it twice now. Obviously, he's a guy that you have to key in on. What does he do off ball that is allowing him to get so free?
Well, he's capitalizing on guys that are dodging, that are drawing slides, and he's finding those creases in the inside. And certain guys have a skill and a knack for that, and some guys don't. And he's a very smart, crafty player. And talking to Coach Janowski this week, he said the same exact thing, that this guy is really smart. He has a high IQ, and you got to know where he is at all times, because he does a really good job of reading the defense when he has the ball on his stick and when he doesn't.
Harvard back on top. It's been 1-goal game, pretty much back and forth throughout this first half as we close in midway through the second quarter. And Ardrey to the near side. Feeds back behind the cage for Cheek. And Cheek had 5 goals, 7 assists coming into this one, already with 3 points today. Defense sliding over Cheek. Not able to get anything there. Here's Archery behind the cage, inverting from the midfield. Archery turns around, Fowler able to get just enough of that.
21, Ian Ardrey.
There's Van de Ven over midfield, Van de Ven by his man. And Duke settling in now as they exchange the personnel. Jones on the field, Class returning as well. Straight away Cohan. Goal today. Dad also played for Duke. He's a high school All-American. Right side Class, right in front. Save made by Shaw. Loose in front, picked up by Harvard. And they'll feed to the near side to Steven Jahelka.
31, Robert Shaw.
And Shaw's made some big saves here. I mean, some really good opportunities from Duke. Guys that usually finish, and he's made some big stops.
Here's Harvard again, quickly moving up. Dwyer will think differently of it, back it up. Coleman puts it in for the Crimson, and a 2-goal lead for Harvard.
Harvard University goal scored by number 7, Don Holden. The assist by number
and Harvard has a slow break or some late numbers, whatever you want to call it. It turns into a 6-on-5 here, and Coleman just stays with the play. Instead of subbing off, stays with the play, and is able to finish off hip on Fowler. But again, Harvard just keeps catching Duke in these odd man, slow type breaks where it's 5-on-4s and 6-on-5s, and they've done a good job of moving the ball, finding the guy that's open, and capitalizing on those opportunities.
7-5 advantage for Harvard. And the offensive guys, the attack, have really gotten involved of late. Dwyer, Cheek, two guys who have been leading the way for them the last few games, coming off career games. Just kept it up today. Whistle, procedure penalty against Duke. So it'll be Harvard ball.
Harvard ball.
No possession had been granted. I believe Dwyer was getting pushed around, so that's where the whistle came from. Now Harvard a chance to go on top by 3. Will Walker, first touch, flag is down, delayed penalty coming up on Duke. It's been a weak area for them of late. Back check picked up by Pelton, and that will kill the play off. We'll see what the penalty is. Interference penalty on Ethan Powley.
The penalty against Duke, number 44, Greg.
And that has been an area for Duke the last few weeks.
It is a 30-second penalty for interference.
The way they've played man down, some of the penalties that they've committed.
56 seconds into the second quarter.
Harvard starts off in a 1-3-2. I'm sure they'll rotate out of that, and they do. They get to a 3-3. Similar to Duke, likes to play in that 3-3 look. And again, the guys with the ball in their stick.
Lang down, low shot, big. Fowler got that enough.
The guys with the ball have to be a threat, make guys commit to them, and then once you get that slide or that guy to get to your hands, that's when you want to move it and catch him.
Penalties released. Dwyer to the near side. Swim move in front, falling down and dropping it in for Harvard.
Harvard goal by number 23.
It was TJ Palladino, the sophomore attacker, coming in on the man up and burying it just as the penalty expired.
Well, right there, Duke, just a little sloppy with their approach to Palladino. You've got to break down and you've got to ride him on his hip and push him down behind the goal. And Palladino does a nice job of just face dodging his defender, getting underneath him, and then finishing across the goal. But again, it all starts with that initial breakdown. You've got to be prepared for that dodge. As soon as you run at somebody with the ball, you got to break down and be ready to play good defense.
Second goal of the year for JT Palladino. And Harvard just playing with so much energy and confidence right now. Again in transition, another goal by Dwyer, his 4th of the game. And Harvard is dancing on the sideline, a 9-5 lead.
In another odd man situation where Harvard has numbers off of some transition, and they do a good job of moving the ball and making Duke's defense rotate, and they catch him in the rotation. Again, right here, it's a clean break and a good skip pass, and Dwyer's able to catch that and finish it far side. But again, good ball movement, good recognition that you've got numbers, and push the ball in transition and create opportunities for yourself.
Speaking with John Danowski this week about Harvard, he couldn't say enough about them. He said they were so talented and thought very much that they could be the #1 team in the country. That's how strongly he felt about Harvard.
Well, if you look at some of the guys they have in their roster and you look at some of the recruiting classes they've brought in and you look at where those guys rank, you know, sometimes I don't pay attention to those numbers, but it has to mean something. They got a lot of #1s and 2s and guys that were top of their class by position, and they've got a lot of guys over the last 3 or 4 years that have gone to Harvard to play. And so they have a ton of talent, and they're showing it right now.
Well, every day at 2 p.m., Tilt and Flow brings you 4 hours of lacrosse talk. Host Chris Marshall and Josh Hawkins interview the top newsmakers in the sport of lacrosse and provide insight and analysis you can't get anywhere else. Tilt and Flow on Lac Sports Network every day at 2 p.m. It's all Laccess. For John Danowski now, Harvard keeps getting out to these quick transition opportunities. What are you telling your team in terms of concentration areas of focus right now?
Well, it's just handling the ball. It's making smart decisions. It's getting some of those loose balls in the middle of the field, and it's just really getting into the hole and stop the ball first. And it's a simple rule that everybody talks about in lacrosse. Stop the ball first, get in the hole first, and then play even man situations defensively. Right now, Harvard's just beating them to the punch, beating them to the ground ball. And doing a really good job moving the ball off of the ground and catching their Duke's defense out of position. So get back to the basics, control the ball, get after the ground balls, and just make smarter decisions in between the lines and don't give up those turnovers.
We hope you're enjoying this free look at Lac Sports Network and our College Game of the Week. For more games and the most comprehensive lacrosse coverage, visit lacsportsnetwork.com for more information on how you can subscribe. More great games like this. Face-off win by Michelle. And Fowler able to get a piece of that one.
And they needed that one. They needed that stop right there. It was another clean break right off of the face-off. And there's a turnover again. We talked about those turnovers, and he'll see Harvard as they transition the ball again, catching them. An odd man.
Here's Duvniak with the shot, and Fowler blocked that with the leg.
These guys are great in transition. I mean, they do an excellent job off the ground, attacking the goal and moving the ball. Really impressed so far by Harvard's ability to move it off the ground and to play in transition.
That's the second time that Bobby Duvniak has been heavily involved in the Harvard offense in transition. So the Crimson coming in and putting up 5 goals in this quarter. Almost shocking the Blue Devils right now. Here's Harvard. Shot blocked. Well done on the check by Pelton. And Duke now going to the offense. It's been a while since they've had possession.
Yeah, and you can even see the coaching staff telling these guys to settle it down. Let's get a nice long possession here. Give our defense, give our goalie a bit of a rest. And let's make this Harvard defense play a little bit here today.
Behind the cage, Case Mathias working patiently. Ian Bruckner along with Miles Jones. Jones again using that physical frame. Right side, Gutterding. 5 points today, 2 goals, 3 assists. Jones, left side, it comes for Cohan. Back for Bruckner. And Duke already working a minute off on this possession, giving that defense some rest. Gutterding moving inside, feeds behind the cage. Mathias sticking the left hand, back up for Gutterding. Loads, fires, save made by Shaw. Loose in front. Mathias had it for a second. Here comes Harvard again with numbers. Sean Coleman leading the break. 4-on-3 for the Crimson. Coleman, left side, tic-tac-toe passing. Dwyer had it, but Fowler came up with a stop.
What a stop. The point man does a great job of finding that skip lane, finding Dwyer on the backside, and Fowler does an excellent job of coming all the way across the goal to make that stop. Man, Duke needed that stop right there, and Fowler came up big for him.
Not an easy save to make for sure. Now Duke in an unsettled situation. And that goal goes in mentally. It's a big hurdle. It's only 1 goal difference, but 10-5 just feels like a big hurdle.
Yeah, absolutely. And Duke's offensive middies, they've got to do a much better job. I mean, it's like the point guard in basketball. You've got to protect. You're the guy playing up top. You've got to protect the rim and the fast break, and their middies have not today.
Down low, Mathias hit as he tried to put that on. Cohan able to pick up the ground ball. There's Class driving in. Behind the cage, Mathias again. Buckner and Mathias. top for Miles Jones, #1 overall pick in the MLL draft a couple weeks ago by the Atlanta Blaze. Jones firing that one wide on the shot, and Jahelka backing up for Harvard. Final minute of the half,
1 minute remaining.
and Harvard trying to put an exclamation on what's been a dandy of a second quarter for the Crimson. Morgan Sheik has it, and Chris Wojcik will take a timeout with 50 seconds to go in half number 1. I mean, this probably has even gone better than the game plan for the Crimson so far.
Yeah, the biggest storyline so far has been Shaw and net making a couple saves. Duke hit a few pipes as well, which, obviously could have went in. But the transition, Harvard's transition offense has been unbelievable. Recognizing it, guys just hustling, getting up the field and creating those odd man situations, and what's led to at least 4 or 5 of these goals here for Harvard.
And what's interesting is we were talking about it before, the two-way midfielders for Harvard, it's been a net positive, but when you're talking transition, sometimes your mind would say that would work against you, because these guys start to get tired, but they have not at all.
No, and they use a lot of bodies. They play a lot of guys. They have the faith and the trust in a lot of those midfielders to be able to play offense and defense. And again, it's showing, and paying dividends for them, because, again, these guys are getting up the field and creating a lot of odd man situations.
Lacrosse fans, if you're looking for a place where you can get all the news, highlights, and analysis for the sport you love all in one place, look no further than Lac Sports Network. Each night at 9 Eastern, Lacrosse Now brings you a comprehensive look at all the news of the day, from the pros to college to high school, indoor and outdoor, men's and women's. We cover the entire sport of lacrosse like nobody else. Lacrosse Now on LSN every night at 9 p.m. It's all Laccess.
And if you're Duke right here, look, you need a little momentum. You need a stop here. You don't want to go in 10-5 and let Harvard score the last goal, carry that momentum into halftime. Need a stop here. A goal would be great, but a stop would be really big for Duke right now.
And Harvard, the way they've attacked, a goal really would be asking probably a little bit of Duke right now with only 30 seconds left to go. Pass up top for Coleman, who has a goal today. Sophomore out of Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Coleman, hesitation. Up top it comes. They load, fire, top left corner for Mann.
And Mann just ripped that shot. I mean, you can't place that any better or shoot that any harder. What a shot here by Mann. He steps into it, hits the pipe, ricochets, and goes in. That is a rip. And a good job by Sean Coleman as well to initiate that dodge, look over the top of the defense, and again, Mann just absolutely rips that corner and buries that goal for Harvard.
We talked about it a moment ago, that 10-5 mental hill, as Harvard has doubled up Duke at the end of this first half. Battle for the loose ball, but time will expire before anybody really comes up with it. Dubniak will finish the first half with the ball in his stick. And for the Crimson, a 10-5 lead at halftime over 4th-ranked Duke. So far, they've been the cardiac Crimson. Right now, perhaps trying to forge a new identity with a team that currently leads Duke by 5. Waiting on Chris Wojcik. Courtney Cox is down on the sideline with the Harvard coach.
All right, Coach, awesome first half. Offensively, you guys have been rolling. How have you overcome Duke's high-powered defense?
Yeah, I mean, they're a great team. I think we turned the tide a little bit facing off. We were, struggling a little bit early in that first quarter to win face-offs, and it was a back-and-forth game. We made some stops. We won some big key ground balls in the middle of the field, and then started winning a few more face-offs that really got us in a flow offensively. And I think we executed our shots as well.
And Devin Dwyer, 4 goals in the first half. What's impressed you most about his play so far in the game?
Yeah, I mean, he's our quarterback of our offense. Whether we want him to distribute, to dodge, or to shoot, he really does it all for us, and he's an extremely smart player. And always makes the smart play. So, he's had a really good first half for us, and he's got to keep it going.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck in the second half.
Thank you.
And Chris Wojcik.
Back to you guys.
And Chris Wojcik pleased with his team's performance. Tremendous goal by Palladino, and the offense has been clicking for the Crimson. Halftime, Harvard, number 12 in the country, doubling up the number 4 team in the country, Duke, by a score of 10-5. Matt Shortis and Steve Panarelli back with you from James M. Stewart Stadium. Steve, early on, this was back and forth game, and it was Duke's offense that looked high-powered.
Yeah, I mean, they're an explosive offense, and they'll get some more goals here in the game. But again, early on, like you said, it was back and forth. Both teams trading shots, trading blows, but towards the end is where Harvard, in that second quarter, Harvard really started to dominate, really started to show you how good their transition offense is, and showed you why Coach Danowski had so much high praise for these guys coming into the game.
And it started with these guys in Dwyer, along with Michael and Morgan Cheek. Those were some of the big names in terms of the transition game for Harvard.
Yeah, I feel like Dwyer and Cheek have like 8 goals each, right? We keep saying their name, but again, these guys are the beneficiary of the transition offense, and that's the midfielders hustling in. That's the guy with the ball in their stick, running down the field and creating these opportunities. And these guys are doing a great job of capitalizing and finishing these good opportunities.
Cheek and Dwyer coming off career performances last week in an overtime win over UMass, and they are right back where they left off today. A 10-5 Harvard lead over Duke. We'll be back, second half coming your way in just a moment on the Lax Sports Network. Welcome back to Hofstra University, where Harvard is leading Duke by a score of 10-5. And you look at some of the first half stats, obviously, take more shots, most of the time you're going to score more goals.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, their offensive production has been, much higher than Duke's as far as shots and obviously with goals. I think the biggest thing, and Coach Wojcik said it at half, was that second quarter face-offs. They're leading the half 10-7, but in that second quarter, they would dominate the X. They controlled the time of possession. And again, we've been talking about it all game, but their transition offense has given Duke a ton of problems, and that's what's led really to this 10-5 lead for Harvard at half.
Their 2 primary attackers, Harvard's Devin Dwyer and Morgan Cheek, each with 5 points. Dwyer with 4 goals and an assist. Morgan Cheek with 2 goals, 3 assists. So Cheek last week against UMass, a career high with points, 6. He's already one shy of that at the half.
Yeah, and Dwyer's coming off of 2 straight games with 7 points, so he's getting close to another 7-point game. So both those guys, again, those guys are benefiting from what's going on in between the lines and Harvard's ability to create odd man situations and Duke's inability to get back in the hole and get matched up.
Second game of our doubleheader earlier today on the same field. Georgetown came in, got their first win of the season, knocked off ninth-ranked Hofstra by a score of 11-6.
Yeah, Georgetown got back to some winning ways here. Desperate team coming in. They needed a win. We talked about that all throughout the broadcast of how these guys needed to show up and play the way they were capable of playing. And they showed us today that the roof is the limit. Sky is the limit. For these guys. Ton of talent on this offense, and their defense played extremely well against Hofstra's top attack.
Norris and Josh Byrne were really held to just a couple of goals back here, just waiting for Coach John Danowski for Duke, as he'll be making his way over to Courtney Cox just before the get ready to start this third quarter. And again, the homecoming of sorts for Coach Danowski, coaching in his first game here at Hofstra since becoming the head coach of the Duke Blue Devils. And pre-game, there was a lot of congratulatory hugs and welcomes and handshakes and all that stuff. But it's down to business right now for Coach Danowski, and I'm sure he would like it to go a little bit better than it has so far, and he's right now with Courtney Cox.
So, Coach, down at the break, how do you turn this thing around in the second half?
Hey, I'm not sure. It's Harvard's playing great. They're doing a great job when the ball's on the ground between the lines, and they're doing a great job in transition. They have 15 seniors, and they're playing like it. I think our younger guys got pushed off the ball a little bit. We got to try to maybe change some personnel around. Maybe just try to be a little bit more assertive, when the ball's on the ground, and see if we can get possession of the ball.
Speaking of Harvard, Devin Dwyer, 4 points, 4 goals in the first half. How do you stop him?
Well, he's really good off the ball. He hasn't done anything dodging, but he's just we told our guys all week, he's such a smart player that's more of a function of their team. Their team is very unselfish. They move the ball well, and they find him on the backside, and so he's done a great job of playing within their system.
All right, thanks, Coach. Good luck in the second half.
Thank you.
All right, back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Courtney. Coach Stanowski, from what he's seeing, it's what we're seeing. It seems pretty plain. Just Harvard's doing a better job in transitions, getting to loose balls, and Devin Dwyer is moving really well without the ball.
Yeah, ground balls win games, and so far Harvard's done a better job off the ground. And again, they move it extremely well off the ground, which we've seen here today. And again, Dwyer, we talked about it since the open. He's not gonna blow you by you with speed. He's not gonna, run through your checks with his size and strength. But he's a smart, crafty player. He finds openings, and when he gets his opportunities, he finishes. And again, he fills up the stat sheet every single game because he's such a smart, crafty, and talented player.
We get ready to start the third quarter. Duke, they'd like to get off to a hot start in this third quarter. It's Duvniak close to it for Harvard. Possession granted, but no real loose ball possession as of yet. And Duke comes away with it. Van de Ven. Now it's up to Harvard to settle it down.
And that's a good sign for Duke. Coach Stanowski just talked about it. Got to win those 50-50 ground ball wars. There was one right there that they were able to come away with, and they're going to have to do that for the entire second half.
Find themselves in a 5-goal deficit. And their lone loss of the season to the defending champs. Ball out of bounds to Harvard.
Pass out of bounds. Harvard ball. Correction, deflection. Duke retains
They changed the call.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Bruckner was walking towards the end line like as if he knew. He was pretty shocked when he first saw the call, but obviously the officials switched it up and made the right call.
There's Miles Jones. Near side. That's Matthias with it, the senior out of Darien, Connecticut. Up top, Gutterding. Gutterding had himself quite a first quarter. Plus a little bit more. Ball dropped by Class. Ball going out of bounds to the Crimson.
out of bounds. Harvard ball.
And that's just sloppy offense, shooting the ball before you catch it. He's in a shooting lane and just took his eye off the ball. Happens in football. Wide receivers, sometimes they take their eye off the ball. Got to catch it first before you can do anything else.
We saw it in the first game, Georgetown and Hofstra, where Hofstra looked a little flat. They looked a little lifeless. And when a team is running and gunning out as quickly as Harvard is, it can make your opponent look like that too. Duke, though, at this point of the game, not able to afford those careless mistakes.
No, they've got to be clean throughout. 5-goal deficit, even though their offense is high powered.
Now make it 6. Joe Lang getting in on the scoring action. And Harvard has extended the lead to 11-5.
And Lang right here just beats the short stick to the inside. Slide comes a little late, but you can't let guys sweep across the top, especially off the wing. You gotta force them down the alley, force them down the side, get them going away and behind the goal. And right there, Lang just gets to the top side, gets to the middle of the field, and buries a lefty rocket.
Well, even with the 3 overtime wins, you'd imagine this Harvard team is opening some eyes nationally.
Yeah, obviously there's a ton of game left here, and I was just saying that Duke's offense is explosive. They can get back in this pretty quick, but so far, Harvard is putting on a show and letting the whole country know that they're legit and they're going to be a contender this year.
Carney Mann stepping in. Here's Lang with it, scored the last goal. Devin Dwyer with 4 goals today. Had a career high 5 last week against UMass, so just 1 shy of that. Harvard making some substitutions now. Will Walker, the senior, will check in. Here's Morgan Cheek off a screen.
Cheek's got a short stick on him now. It's a favorable matchup for Harvard attacking on a short stick.
Cheek trying to dump off for Dwyer, ball to the turf. Dwyer picking up. Dwyer also with a short stick on him. The 2 attackmen drawing some favorable matchups. Right side they come for Mann. Looking right on the crease, didn't get through. They were looking for White and it got knocked down. Duke able to recover. They get it to Fowler, and Fowler will initiate the clear for the Blue Devils. When you're trailing by 6, every stand feels like a big stand, but now Duke needs to turn it into offense.
Yeah, they're going to have to make some stops this half for sure. If they're going to get back in this game, they can't let Harvard operate offensively at the pace they've been, operating at as far as, goal production. They're going to have to get some stops, and this Duke offense will have, the more possessions they get, they'll get goals, but it's about right now for Duke just getting stops, and it's 1 stop at a time.
Matthias physically D'd up by Carney Mann, the sophomore. Up top, Miles Jones thought about unleashing it. Now he does, right into the stick of Shaw. Loose ball, sent back on. Shaw, another stop, popped over the get. Matthias, Class hits the crossbar. Bruckner, another ground ball for Duke. Unsettled situation. Class will try it again. Goes high level, and Shaw was there once more. Flurried play, and the sophomore is standing on his head.
Shaw is standing in there and standing tough. Under a tough assault there, seeing a lot of shots in a short amount of time. And if you're Duke, so frustrating. I think it's the 4th pipe they've hit here today.
Here's Cohan back to work. Duke got to be shaking their head at that. Cohan, stick knock free. Shaw clamps down.
And that's just a great back check. It's a check that, defensemen should throw almost every time a guy turns his back and changes direction. It's a safe check, and so many of these guys hang their sticks, and all you got to do is catch a little bit of it to get the ball on the ground.
Here's Harvard again. Duvniak, the shot. Fowler, the save.
Shot by number 19, Bobby Duvniak. Saved by number 3, Danny Fowler.
There's Duke now in transition, trying to move. There's Matthias. After he had the assist, I asked you off air, we were in a break, how many times you think Bobby Duvniak has had the ball a foot in front of the goalie? And now we've seen it twice. We've seen him take a shot, so maybe more than we would have thought.
Maybe more than we thought. Yeah, he obviously seems pretty comfortable in front of the net. And there's another turnover, and here comes Harvard's transition offense, but Miles Jones hustling back in and getting back to even for Duke.
Jones closing down on Duvniak, and Duvniak settling in on that crease attack roll as he waits for some personnel to change over. He goes off and is going to head upfield. Harvard 1 man shy as Jones will come off as well for Duke. Harvard numbers if they go quickly. Stepping into this, Fowler seeing the ball so well here in the second half. Another save.
A big stop right there by Fowler, because again, Harvard gets Duke in the subbing game, right? Gets him caught up again, creates another odd man situation, and Fowler bails out Duke. Another good look for Harvard. But again, Duke just not being smart in this subbing game. You got to stay on the field if you can't get off.
A funky bounce gets all the way by, and Jahelka picks it up for Harvard. And again, it just feels like we're going long stretches of time where Duke is not having any sort of settled offense. And I don't even know that Harvard's had a ton of settled offense in this quarter either. A lot of back and forth.
A lot of back and forth, a lot of up and down, fast-paced game. You look at Duke over the years, notoriously known for transition offense and playing fast and opening things up, just like a Virginia, a Syracuse. A lot of those teams that like to play up and down. But right now, Harvard, for a lack of a better term, is out-duking Duke. I mean, they're just showing their speed, their athleticism, and their ability in between the lines to create offense.
Brendan Newman will come back on for Harvard as they get a fresh set of bodies in the midfield. 7:15 to go in the third quarter. Joe Lang moving inside, right on the front. Newman lost the ball as he brought the stick back. Otherwise, him and Fowler were on a one-on-one date.
Newman would have caught that. That's almost a guaranteed goal. I think even I could have finished that one if I'm able to catch it. I mean, that's as easy as it gets. One-on-one with the goalie, nobody around you. Just couldn't handle the pass. Just unfortunate for Harvard.
Pally in some trouble now on the ride as Joe Lang making things difficult for Duke. Ball getting out of bounds. Greg Shea couldn't handle it as he tried to turn on field before the pass landed in his pocket. A Duke turnover will give the ball back to Harvard with 6.5 to play. You look at what Harvard's doing right now to Duke. Always saw from Yale and have expected from Yale coming into the season. And Brown's offense, what they've been able to do, this Ivy League, it's always a very good conference, but maybe even better than people thought.
Yeah, I mean, I'm extremely impressed with Harvard so far here today as we get a flag here.
Morgan Cheek took a tough hit as he went in, and Fowler made the save. But we'll have a push with possession.
I think it's just a late hit there in the back.
Prendergast, the guilty party.
There is a loose ball push.
Oh, no penalty.
Okay.
Took off the flag. Loose ball push from
Harvard
behind.
has possession.
Possession to Harvard.
I guess they'll just say that because it didn't seem malicious. It didn't come in very hard. Just a little shoulder. Nevertheless, Harvard will get the ball back. So still costly for Duke. And you look at what Harvard's done since the start of the second quarter, they have held Duke to 1 goal. Shot from the right point from Lang, deflects wide.
Joe Lang.
I mean, you just look at the career numbers of their 3 attackmen, their first line midfield. That's impressive.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, if you would have told me we'd be more than halfway through the third quarter and Duke would only have 5 goals so far, I would have thought you were crazy, but Harvard's done a great job defensively.
Turnaround shot from Walker, again wide. Or you'd think it was maybe a 6-5, 7-5 kind of game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been talking about Harvard's offense, and rightfully so, but their defense has played extremely well, and Shaw in the net has done a really nice job for Harvard.
Dwyer holding on as the long stick. Comes goal line extended. Dwyer, triple team comes, lost the ball. And Duke trying to create something and able to create a turnover there. But again, they got to take care of the ball in transition. Haven't done so. And nearly saving it, but going out of bounds was McDonough, so Duke will get it back. Duke really in need of some scoring. At least a goal or 2 before the quarter comes to a close. Jones, Class, they'll come on, along with Cohan, that first line midfield unit for Duke. There's Cohan riding.
I think if you're Duke, just get it to within 3. If you can get it 11-8, you're in a good position going to the fourth quarter. You're right back in it. Get it to within 3. You're not going to get it all back at once. Chip away at the lead. But again, just get it close going to that fourth quarter. Get within 3 or 4 goals, and then you're at least in striking distance.
It's Matthias quickly in off the missed shot from Class. Gutterding trying to curl, looking up top. Class cut before the pass came. Kept in, picked up by Cohan at midfield.
Good play right there by Powley, using that 6-foot pole, keeping that ball on the offensive side and not going off sides.
Here's Jones. He'll fire a left shot. Shaw a piece of it. Raked forward, and Shaw's able to have it again.
And again, here comes Harvard with some numbers. They can hustle in.
McDonough seeing that Class was stride for stride with him. He just lets the offense settle in, not looking to force anything. Just one goal has been scored so far in the third quarter. Harvard really letting a little air out of it, if you will. They haven't been nearly as aggressive as we saw in that second quarter.
Yeah, if I'm Harvard's coaching staff, I'm telling my guys, be patient. Let's run the clock. Let's work for really good looks. No 50-50 passes where you're trying to force one inside or over the top. It's got to be 100% pass. And again, look for good shots and work for good shots.
Fire right side for White. Way up top. Dwyer will step into it, hits the side post. And Jones will let it go. They say last touch by Jones off the missed shot. So Jones thinking it was a missed shot, just figured he would save it to the sideline. But it's Harvard ball. There's Cheek across for Lang, right in front. Dwyer saved by Fowler. Well, Fowler has gotten much better as this game has gone on. He's been asked to really step up big for Duke.
Oh yeah, if it wasn't for Fowler, this game would be almost out of reach at this point, especially in this third quarter, some of the saves he's made. And Dwyer, I can't believe Dwyer actually missed an opportunity. Feels like he finishes and buries everything that he gets in front of the net. But again, nice job right there by Fowler.
David Gill. Some personnel changing up for Duke. First touch of the game for CJ Carpenter, a freshman attacker from Durham. And here's Carpenter with it. Up top, Bruckner looking low. Shaw sticking that right leg out. Stick with it as well. And another stop for the sophomore keeper.
We've seen some good sophomore goalie play today in the first game. Concannon, Morocco, and now Shaw. Three really good sophomore goalies.
Here's Harvard again. Cheek. That pass was thrown to his opposite side. Otherwise, if that was stick side, another big save would have been required of Fowler. Final minute of play in the third quarter. Harvard will hold for the final shot. Lang, back checked. They're able to pick up the ground ball, at least for the moment. Now Harvard has it. Fowler flashing out of his cage. Nobody saw him. They throw it upfield. Coleman. Back down low for Cheek. Cheek moving in. Shot just wide. Would have counted if it beat Fowler. But we go to the fourth quarter. And Harvard's defense has gotten stronger as this game has gone on. A 6-point lead for Harvard heading to the fourth over fourth-ranked Duke. We'll be back. You're watching the College Lacrosse Game of the Week here on Lac Sports Network. This spring, Lac Sports Network will bring you some of the best high school lacrosse in the country as we feature 11 games from the Mid-Atlantic. We get things underway on Wednesday with a matchup between McDonough and Gonzaga, the high school game of the week on Lac Sports Network. It's all Laccess. Back in the fourth quarter, Matt Shortis, Steve Panarelli, Courtney Cox with you. And Harvard, it's hard to say this for the 12th ranked team in the country, but I would say they're opening some eyes.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. You know, you have three close wins against maybe opponents that you think they might have handled and you know, maybe not needed overtime to beat. But nonetheless, they got 3 wins, and now here today against Duke, I mean, they're really showing you what they're capable of because, you know, obviously Duke's a very talented team, been there before, played in big games, and right now Harvard's really taking it to them and doing a great job.
Duke gets the ball to start. And trailing by 6, goals need to start coming for the Blue Devils. Here's Cohan. And that midfield has been relatively quiet. Matthias, skip pass, Jones rifles a shot, Shaw right on the numbers, lead pass ahead. Here's Coleman, and the transition again. Coleman getting by Jones. Well, Harvard has not been shy about trying to move the pace. We talked about slow it down to start this game. They have turned that upside down.
Yeah, I mean, they've played at a pace that not many teams can, you know, if they're able to execute and play at this pace, there's not too many teams that can hang with these guys the way they're playing right now. I mean, they're out in transition.
Somehow, Cheek keeping the ball on his stick through that. That's you as a defenseman saying, what is going on?
Yeah, I mean, you just at that point, you feel like you can't do anything right on a day like this defensively. But again, Harvard, their D middies, as soon as that shot's taken, they're gone. They're up the field. I mean, they're already at the top of the box and even past the box. So, I mean, when you play against these guys and you scout these guys, you've got to instill in your offensive middies that when that shot's taken, you've got to find somebody and get in the hole and match up because these guys are just jailbreaking and they're just running straight up the field and creating opportunities.
And the ride has been relentless for Harvard as well. A turnover from Miles Jones after Ardrey went in the crease. You know, maybe they've taken the mentality of what they've needed in the overtime and decided, you know, we're going to bring that intensity to the early part of the game.
It's easier to win it in 4 than have to play 5 and 6. I can tell you that. So, yeah, they're definitely making sure that they don't have to go to overtime here today, or at least they're trying.
It's Joe Lang cutting. Lang looking right on the crease. Quick stick goal. Brendan Newman puts it in for a 12 spot.
The Harvard goal scored by number 48, Brendan Newman. The assist by number 24, Joe Lang. On the goal by number 48, Brendan Newman. Time of the goal.
You take a look right here. Lang beats his man, draws the slide, pulls that slide out with him, goes behind, and then Newman just cuts from up top right into the heart of the defense. Duke doesn't do a good job of their slide and recovery, getting back into the middle and finding those open guys, because after you slide, there's always going to be someone open, so you've got to recover to him, you got to find them, locate him, and get to his hands. Right there, Newman does a good job of just cutting and finally making that cut all the way down and finishing.
3 goals on the season, 2 today. After 1 goal all of last year, they push again. Here's Michael, down low, Dwyer. Dwyer tucks it back inside. He'll go back at X. After a tremendous first half, is in quiet here in the second. But that's more of a style choice than Duke locking him off or anything to that nature.
And again, another clean 4-on-3 break that they had. I would have liked to have seen the guy with the ball on the stick hit the point man and make that defense rotate. But again, just another example of how these guys get out in the open and create transition and fast break opportunities.
So just minutes gone by in this 4th quarter. And Harvard going right back and picking up right where they left off. And defensively, a lot of times it's easy to kind of gloss over or couple these things in because obviously the defense has played well. A lot of it has been possession. Duke just has not had the ball.
No, and that's again because like what Coach Now said at half was Harvard has won the ground ball battle as they win another one there where, you know, you've got 3 guys from Duke, 3 guys from Harvard all around the ball, and Harvard comes out with it. So that's huge for possession. The face-offs have been key. And Harvard's done a nice job of taking care of the ball. You know, even though they're playing at this fast pace, sometimes that creates turnovers for you when you're trying to push and be aggressive. But for them, they've been able to play aggressive, play up and down, and yet still take care of the ball.
On a bounce, they move it over to Matthias. Duke needs to start getting something offensively. Been shut out so far in this second half. Jahelka knocking it away. Picks up the ground ball. And he'll leave it back as he was going out of bounds. They find Shaw. And that is what the senior long pole, the captain, and the Tewaaraton watch list defender does for his team. And the senior leadership that Irby's provided, Jahelka, Duvniak in the midfield. From a long pole perspective. Here comes Duke the other way. Prendergast trying to move in an unsettled situation. Matthias up top, overhand shot from the left side is good for Gutterding. Third goal of the game for Justin Gutterding and 6 points for the sophomore.
On the goal by number 33, Justin Gutterding. Time of the goal, 5 minutes, 15 seconds.
And right here, just Gutterding just stepping down. Nice, fundamental overhand shot for him. Like you said, he's got 6 points. Duke's has 6 goals, so he's been involved on everything that Duke has done offensively. And right there, a little reverse transition. Sometimes when you push it up the field and you try to play fast, it comes right back in your face just as fast. And Duke had a little bit of a slow break, had some numbers there, and Gutterding's able to finish it.
And now big face-off, win by Duke.
Ground ball for Duke, picked up by 39, Ian Yanulis.
So obviously still a big hole, but if you get a couple goals, all of a sudden you start to think.
You just got to get back in it and give yourself a chance. You know, you don't have to get them all at once and get them quick. You just got to keep getting some stops defensively, start to chip at this lead, and as it gets later and later, give yourself an opportunity to get back in the game.
Looking for Gutterding at the top middle. Gutterding recovers off the ground ball, trying to spin around a defender. Nowhere to go for him, though. Swept out towards Miles Jones, but it's Bruckner who picks it up. It was getting dicey for Duke for a moment. Up top, Cohan thought about it. Defense slid over.
And
Well done by the midfield.
Got to move it. You have the double team. You got to move it right away. And you're usually 1 or 2 passes away from finding somebody open on the inside. As soon as you draw that slide, you got to move it right away.
Coleman, a nice job coming over. Harvard's defense spread out. Quick look right in front. Shot fake, goal. Bruckner.
The goal for Duke, scored by number 8, Jack Bruckner. The goal is unassisted. Under the 6-minute
Nice job of Duke beating the whistle and playing fast off of the whistle. And Bruckner finds himself wide open in front of the net again. Right off of that whistle, catching Harvard sleeping a little bit on defense, and a nice job here. Hung the whole way, and Shaw did a nice job. And because he hung, you know, he held the ball so long, it's because Shaw was there on all of his fakes. But smart play by Bruckner. He waited for the right opportunity, knew that he had plenty of time, and finally finished it over the top. Duke has to keep winning faceoffs. They got to keep scoring. It's like a winner's takeout in basketball. That's the type of mentality they need now. Score goals, get faceoffs, and keep playing offense.
Ball still underneath, and a Duke faceoff win. 2 straight, and 2 straight ground balls picked up by Yanulis. All of a sudden, this Duke offense seems to have their swagger back to them a little bit.
Again, if you can get a couple goals and get a couple faceoffs right after them, you've got an opportunity to get back in the game. The faceoffs are going to be key, and offensively, they got to keep running their sets and getting good looks. That's not what we're talking about.
Bruckner trying to get across. Duke kept it alive for a moment. Duvniak on the ground ball for Harvard. Duvniak being chased down by Smith. Duvniak across into the box. Duvniak going right on the doorstep and overthrows Lang out of bounds.
He's got to shoot it. I mean, he's got to shoot that ball. He is 6 yards from the goal. He's passing to a guy that doesn't even have an angle. I mean, he had the best look on the field right there. He's got to shoot the ball. That was just too unselfish. No one picks you up, and like I said, you're 6-7 yards away from the goal. You got to shoot that ball. You can't pass there.
Saw him pull the trigger earlier in the game.
And if you're a D guy, you don't get many opportunities. You got to shoot him when you got him.
Well, he gets out there, though. That's the 4th or 5th time we've seen him involved in the offense. And for Duke, Class puts in his 2nd goal. And all of a sudden, the Blue Devils have scored 3 in a row and trail 12-8.
And that starts with him not taking that shot, which possibly could have been a goal, forcing that pass, being too unselfish. Goes back to Duke, and then Class finishes it right there.
So now you're in the huddle. You're in the Harvard defense, playing well all game long. All of a sudden, the other team, even though they've been in a deficit, starting to put some things together. What are you talking about defensively?
Well, I mean, momentum's funny. I mean, obviously Duke's got it going right now, but you just got to relax. You got to realize, hey, we're still up 4, 7 minutes. We would have signed up for this before the game. We're in a great position. We just got to get back to doing what we were doing before. Control the ball, take care of the ball. And I think Harvard offensively, you got to help your defense out a little bit. Slow it down. I mean, I know we like to play fast, and I know obviously that's created 12 goals for us in this league, but sometimes you got to recognize the situation and what's going on in the game. Duke's offense is starting to get going, so slow down, control the ball, and get Duke's offense off the field.
And if Duke's able to keep this comeback coming along, this guy might get lost in the shuffle, but got to make sure he's awarded or recognized for what he's done to keep Duke in this game.
Yeah, I mean, usually when a defense gives up 12 or more, you're not usually talking about the goalie, but he's done an excellent job of keeping them in this game, making some huge saves, and bailing this defense out. If it wasn't for him, this might be 16 or 17 to 8.
Lac Sports Network is your place for all things Division I lacrosse. Each Wednesday, get all the week's news in one place on LSN's D1 Digest. From highlights to interviews to analysis, we've got you covered. D1 Digest every Wednesday on Lac Sports Network. It's all Laccess. Let's go down to Courtney on the sideline.
Thanks, guys. In between the 3rd and 4th quarter, I got to listen to Coach Wojcik talk to his team. He said, guys, we need to keep doing the same recipe we've been doing all game. Well, obviously, with Duke's 3-0 run, the recipe needs to go back to what it was in the first half. They were excited. The coaches were praising them. Obviously, things have changed a little bit, but they're still ahead. And if I was a Harvard fan right now, I would start getting that cardiac crimson feeling in my heart. It's getting a little bit nerve-wracking down here.
Well, both teams going at it, and a whistle, delayed penalty. Duke will go a man down. That plays into it too, Steve. You talk about that cardiac crimson. So they have found ways to get to overtime. They were down 6-0 at half to Holy Cross. They were leading UMass. So they've gotten there on both sides of things. So if Duke maybe cuts this thing to 2, do you start to let that creep into your mind again?
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they like winning overtime. I mean, maybe they're setting it up. I don't know. But right there, a tough call for Duke. Their staff wasn't happy with the call. But now, obviously, Harvard goes a man up, and they're going to need their man-down team to make a stop here.
Full minute penalty. So Harvard getting in to the man-up offense. Wire to the left side. There's Cheek sent out. More than half the time elapsed from the penalty. Near side, right on the doorstep. Fowler again. Enough of this one. Ball to the sideline, diving for it, but it'll be Harvard possession still. Good effort by Pelton. 15 seconds on the man advantage for Harvard.
Both teams recognizing how big that was to get to that sideline and gain possession. both teams hustling.
Up top, Dwyer. Now the ball moving quickly. Pass gets through. Fowler's got it. Not a shot. That was definitely a pass intended for Cheek. And it just missed target. Cheek able to knock this down. Cheek around the defense. One-on-one between him and Fowler. Beats the goalie. And Morgan Cheek has a hat trick. And his third goal of the game puts Harvard on top, 13-8.
And if you're Duke, that breaks your back right here. You get a stop, and right here, just a simple turnover right there. Cheek does a good job, though. Give him credit, getting his stick in the passing lane, and then being able to finish it on the one-on-one with the goalie. But if you're Duke, again, you get your stop, you get the ball back, you got all the momentum after all these goals in a row, and to have a bad turnover like that, which leads to a goal, that just kills you. It kills all your momentum.
And to echo back to what Coach Janowski talked about coming into this second half, he was talking about those hustle plays, those senior type plays, and Harvard's been doing that this entire game.
Yeah, they've been everywhere. I mean, you watch them ride, you watch them opposite in transition, the ground balls. Defensively, their slides and recoveries for the most part have been crisp. Guys have hustled in and out. I mean, they've just been all over the field, and they look like they've just been a little bit of a step ahead or a step faster than what Duke has been here today.
Fowler coming out of the net to challenge the ground ball, still unsettled, and Duke sensing the urgency, knowing they are running low on time, down by 5. Here come the Blue Devils. Gill with it. And Duke going to have to push the tempo a little bit, which normally you would say is to their strength, but it hasn't been today. There's Cohan off a screen from Jones. Deed up by Duvniak. Flag coming down, delayed penalty on Harvard. Here's Class open in space. Class high bounce over the crossbar. Duke going on the man advantage.
Shot by number 10.
Right there, Sean Coleman was locked up and trying to lock off Miles Jones. Miles did a good job of just keep moving, keep working, and eventually got that holding call, which is going to lead to a Duke man advantage.
Penalty against Harvard, number 7, Sean Coleman. It is an illegal procedure penalty for 30 seconds.
A 30-second penalty.
The penalty, 10 minutes and 36 seconds into the fourth quarter.
As Brandon Newman will shuffle on for Harvard. A short stick in the box and 1. Chance for Duke to get one back now on the man advantage. Short one though. Halfway gone already. Cuts it back, Gutterding. Just 9 to shoot. 9 on the penalty. Down low, in front. Put in by Bruckner, but are we going to get a crease violation? No, it'll be a goal for Bruckner. And a flag on the play as well on the push. So Duke getting one back, and they're back within 4.
Again, the goal by number 8, Jack Bruckner. The flag has been waved.
And right here you see the good ball movement by Duke, and Bruckner eventually is going to be able to get underneath his man, protect his stick. Watch that little face dodge. Does a good job of tiptoeing the crease. And again, protecting his stick by putting the defenseman onto his back, increasing his angle, outstretched arms, and able to finish that before he gets pushed into the crease. Nice play right there by Bruckner.
A lot of fans on both sides. Near side, more Duke fans, and far side, I would say Harvard, but there's a good mix back and forth. Both are on their feet, though. I don't know if it's just they don't want to sit on the metal bleachers here in the cold, or there's a little nerves on both sides. Big face-off win for Harvard, though. Much like that extra man goal a moment ago, just stem it, just kind of extend the game a little bit. And Harvard in not any hurry to go in anywhere. Dwyer and Cheek is playing behind the net. And they'll hold as long as they can until that shot clock gets turned on. Here's Cheek. Looks like he's going to goal. Cheek falling in. Flag coming down. Late flag. Well, this looks like it's going to go against Duke.
Same type of play that we just had on the last goal by Bruckner, that push from behind. When you're a defenseman, you're in that trail position, and that guy steps underneath you, and he's starting to go across the top. Right here, as you take a look, he gets underneath him. There's really not much else you could do as a defenseman. You almost have to take that push and try to, live to play man down and try to get a stop there, because if you don't, he's going to walk right in front of the net, and, usually it leads to an easy goal. So it's a tough position if you're a defenseman. The key is to try not to get in that position, try not to get into that trail position of a guy when he's getting underneath you.
So inside 3 minutes to go, and Harvard will work the entirety of this penalty. Only a 30-second penalty. You hear the countdown from the penalty box. Right side goal line extended. They switch it up top to Dwyer. Here's a shot that's put in by McDonough, his first of the game. And Harvard, number 14 today.
Assist by number 3, Devin Dwyer. On the goal by number 6, John McDonough.
And what else is new? Dwyer is involved in some kind of offense for Harvard. McDonough right there just catches and just rips it, gets his feet set, gets his hands back, and gets nice velocity on that shot. But again, what else is new? Dwyer somehow is involved in a Harvard goal.
6 points each for he and Morgan Cheek. As Cheek matching a career high in points that he set last week in the overtime win over UMass. And Harvard, should they hold on, 4-0 start would be their best mark since 2002 to start the year. Whistle offsides against the Crimson.
Offsides against Harvard, Duke ball.
Duke will have it step in. You look schedule-wise, coming up for Duke, Richmond during the week, and then a tough matchup next week against Loyola.
31, Robert Shaw.
And then, of course, they really start to get into the bulk of the ACC schedule, so it doesn't get any easier for the Blue Devils.
Yeah, no, they notoriously play a tough schedule. I mean, almost everybody in Division I lacrosse plays a tough schedule. I mean, there's so many good teams nowadays, and especially when you live in the ACC, you're talking, Virginia, Notre Dame, Syracuse, UNC. There's no breaks with that ACC schedule. So they'll have plenty of opportunities to prove themselves, Duke. They'll have to learn from this experience, get better from here. But again, they got plenty of big games ahead of them and plenty of games to play where they could show, what they're really capable of.
For Harvard, a couple games coming up this week at Bryant, at Penn State. And should they be undefeated on March 19th, should be a fun one between them and Brown. And Harvard just taking some time off the clock now as we're inside the final minute. As Harvard, again, will go 4-0 for the first time since 2002 and knock off 4th-ranked Duke. All facets of the game, offense, defense. Shaw played well in goal. Transition was the name of the game today for the Harvard Crimson. And a shot clock violation, they'll take that gladly.
There really wasn't one thing that you could look back and say that they didn't do well here today, Harvard. I mean, they really dominated in all phases of the game. They looked sharp on both ends, in between the lines. And even they finish off there with a huge check against arguably the best player in the country. So just a little exclamation point there as the game ends.
Well, celebration is on for Harvard twofold. They knock off number 4 Duke, and they do it in regulation. So the Crimson again moving to 4-0 in the regular season with a 14-9 victory over Duke. We'll be back in a minute. Wrap this one up. Stick with us here on the College Game of the Week on LAC Sports Network. 12th ranked Harvard defeats 4th ranked Duke 14-9. Back at Hofstra's James M. Sherwood Stadium, second game of our college lacrosse doubleheader wrapping up. It's impressive in all facets today for the Crimson and matching their best start, 4-0 since 2002. 6 points apiece for Devin Dwyer and Morgan Cheek, each with, well, Cheek had 3 goals, 3 assists. Dwyer had 4 goals and 2 assists, and Chris Wojcik is making his way over to Courtney Cox. We'll hang it up here a moment. I mean, this was a tie game after a quarter. I know only 1 quarter, but still, second quarter, Harvard started to run away with it. Yeah,
they were just quicker in every aspect, quicker to the ground balls, quicker in transition, quicker with their slides. They were just a step ahead of Duke all day, from that first quarter on, and really put on a heck of a display here today. I'm completely impressed with these guys. Really learned a lot about how good and talented they are and how athletic they are.
And Courtney Cox right now with Chris Wojcik and a couple of members of the Harvard Crimson.
Yep. Coach, a win over Duke. You guys are 4-0, not in overtime for the first time this season. How does it feel?
It feels great. I think, obviously this is a huge game for us. We started off the season with 3 really close games where we had to fight back, but we've just kept doing what we're doing, and we just knew if we improved our execution, really, on face-offs and just continue that will on our on ground balls, that, it was going to turn and we'd be able to build a lead. So, it's a great win.
Your defense able to silence Miles Jones. How did they do that?
We came to play. I think he's as good as anyone out there, as is Duke. So, it was a challenge, and we challenged our guys all week. Coach DeLuca did an exceptional job, preparing our defense. They came out hungry, aggressive, and we were going after them. And I thought we were really decisive and we were really sharp defensively, all day.
And Morgan Cheek, Devin Dwyer, together 12 points on the day. How impressive was their play?
They played great. We moved the ball really well. They made plays. They executed when we had to, and they just kept coming. So they're a really tough group, to cover, and they showed it today.
And Morgan, 6 points for you on the day. How did it feel? You were rolling. How was it out there?
It's a lot of fun. I think we just got to credit our team, our defense, getting the offense the ball. Attack, we preached all week riding, and we got some easy goals off that. So it was a lot of fun to go out there and play together, play a hard game.
And how does the team feel? 4-0, not in overtime this game. How does it feel for you guys?
I think it's great. I think probably our parents feel a little, and coaches probably feel a little better than we do, given that it wasn't an overtime game. But it's a great feeling to start season 4-0.
And do you guys know we're calling you guys Cardiac Crimson?
Well, hopefully not for too much longer, but thanks. We take it as a compliment.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations. Enjoy the win.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Thanks, Courtney. Steve, easy to say that Harvard definitely put themselves even more on the map than they already were with this win.
Yeah, I'm really not much else to say. I mean, they were extremely impressive today. Again, they showed their athleticism. They're smart players, make really heady plays, good in the goal, improved at the face-off ends, which is key for them. They've struggled there a little bit this year, but again, really impressed with these guys and really looking forward to see how the rest of the season plays out for this team.
Harvard matching their best start since 2002, off to a 4-0 start. Duke dropping to 4-2, getting a loss to Denver. Once again, our final score from Sherwood Stadium: Harvard 14 and Duke 9. Thanks for watching the College Game of the Week on LSN. For Steve Panarelli, I'm Matt Shortis. Coming up next on LSN, get caught up with all the action from today with the Lacrosse Now postgame show. We have more live college lacrosse on LSN this week. First on Wednesday, D3 Powers Salisbury and Stevenson meet. Then next Saturday, we're back here in Hofstra with the Pride host Ohio State. Thanks for watching Lac Sports Network. It's all Laccess.